He was on his knees in the bathroom, working on the pipes under the sink, when he turned his face and said, looking straight at me, "Mrs. Helen, I'm going to have to work on it down below, too." I felt my entire body freeze. His gaze held mine for a second longer than it should have. And in that instant, I swear, I understood two things at the same time. The first, he was talking about the plumbing. The second, he knew exactly what those words had done to me. I'm 67 years old. I've been married for 42 years, and it had been so long since anyone looked at me that way that I thought I'd forgotten what it felt like. My name is Helen. I lived in a quiet apartment in Riverside, Jacksonville, with a husband who only touched me when he thought it was time. No kiss, no eye contact, no fire, and I thought I'd accepted that. That it was just how things were after 60, that mature women don't feel these things anymore. But when that young man stood up, wiped his hands on the rag hanging from his belt, and smiled sideways, I realized something terrifying. I still had a body. I was still a woman. And someone had just noticed. I was a hospital switchboard operator my entire life. I spent 38 years sitting in a worn leather chair, answering calls from desperate people, transferring calls, taking messages from doctors, hearing cries over the phone at 3 a.m. I was invisible. Nobody saw me. They only heard my voice. And when I got home, the invisibility continued. My husband, Robert, was a manager at a construction supply company. Serious man, firm voice, opinion about everything. He'd always been like that, controlling, methodical, cold. When we got married, I thought that was strength. I thought it was security. But over time, I realized it wasn't strength. It was indifference. He didn't look at me. He saw me as part of the house, like the refrigerator, like the couch. I was there, but I didn't matter. Sometimes he touched me, but it was in the most technical way possible, like someone fulfilling an obligation, like someone signing a paper. No lingering kiss, no looking into my eyes, no asking if I was feeling anything. I'd turn to the side, look at the bedroom wall and think, this is it. This is how it's going to be until the end. And the worst part? I started to believe the problem was me. My body had changed. My skin wasn't firm anymore. My hair was gray. My waist had disappeared. I'd look in the mirror and think, who would want this? Who would feel desire for a 67-year-old woman? I was certain that no one would ever look at me that way again. That way a man looks at a woman. That way, that makes your body wake up. Until that day. The shower in the guest bathroom had started dripping. Robert complained twice, said I should have taken better care of it, that it was wasting water. He didn't fix it. He never fixed anything. He just complained. So I called a technician that my neighbor had recommended. A young guy, she said. Did good work. Charged fair prices. He arrived on Tuesday morning. Knocked on the door at 9:30. I opened it and came face to face with a man in his early 30s. Baseball cap turned backward, tight black t-shirt, tool backpack on his shoulders. He smiled. It wasn't that polite smile of someone who's working. It was a real smile, as if he was genuinely happy to see me. You Mrs. Helen? I could only nod. My name's Daniel. I'm here to check out the shower. He came in, and from the first second, I felt something strange in the air. It wasn't just his presence. It was the way he looked at me, as if I existed, as if he really saw me. I showed him the bathroom. He went in, opened his backpack, took out his tools. He knelt on the cold floor, looking at the pipes, testing the pressure. I stood in the doorway, not knowing what to do with my hands. You live alone? He asked, without taking his eyes off the valve. No, my husband works all day. He looked at me over his shoulder, and in that look, there was something. I can't explain it, but it was as if he'd understood everything, as if he'd seen my entire life in that one sentence. He went back to working on the pipes. I stayed there, watching. His body was strong, broad shoulders under the t-shirt, firm hands holding the wrench. I couldn't stop looking, and when I realized what I was doing, I felt a wave of shame rise up my neck. That's ridiculous, Helen, I thought. "You're too old for this." But my body didn't care what I thought. My body was responding, was waking up, was feeling things I thought had died years ago. Daniel stood up, wiped his hands, turned to me and said, "The problem's down here. I'm going to have to open up the trap. It'll take about 20 minutes. I could only say, "Okay, take your time." But when he bent down again, I had to get out of there. I went to the kitchen, put water on to boil, tried to breathe. But my heart was racing, my hands were trembling, and I didn't understand why. Because I was married, because I was 67 years old, because that young man could be my son, because none of it made sense. But it did, and that's what scared me. For the first time in decades, I had felt desire, real desire, that old, deep, dangerous desire. That desire you feel when you're young and think the whole world fits inside a kiss. I thought I'd never feel that again. And suddenly, there it was, alive, pulsing, real. And I didn't know what to do with it. Daniel came out of the bathroom 20 minutes later, putting his tools back in the backpack. I was in the kitchen, pretending to rearrange the cabinet, but really just trying to look busy. He appeared in the doorway, wiping his hands on an old rag. "All done, Mrs. Helen. Working perfectly now." I forced a smile. "How much do I owe you?" He gave me a fair price. I got the money from my purse, handed it to him. Our fingers touched for a second, and I swear, I felt a shock. It wasn't my imagination. It was real, electric, impossible to ignore. He noticed. I saw it in his eyes. He noticed and didn't look away. "Thank you," I said, too quickly, almost choking on the words. "You're welcome." He put the money in his pocket, but didn't leave. He just stood there looking at me, as if thinking about saying something. Then he smiled sideways and said slowly, "If you need anything else, anything at all, you can call me." And he left. I closed the door, leaned against it, took a deep breath, and thought, it's over, done. He won't come back. But the next day, he came back. I was watering the plants on the balcony when I heard the doorbell ring. I opened the door and almost dropped the watering can. It was Daniel, baseball cap, gray t-shirt, the same backpack on his shoulders. He smiled, but this time the smile was different, more confident, more intentional. "Hi, Mrs. Helen." I was speechless. Sorry to just show up like this, but I forgot a tool here yesterday, a socket wrench. I only realized it this morning. I blinked, trying to process. "Oh, of course. Come in." He came in, walked past me again, and this time I caught his scent. Smell of soap, of clean clothes, of man. A smell I hadn't experienced in so long it almost hurt. Daniel went straight to the bathroom. I stayed in the living room, arms crossed, trying to understand what was happening. He came back a few minutes later with the wrench in his hand. Found it. But he didn't leave. He just stood there in the middle of the living room, looking at me. And then he said something that changed everything. "Mrs. Helen, can I ask you something?" My heart raced. "Sure." He took a step forward, not too close, but close enough for me to feel his presence. "Why were you so nervous yesterday?" I froze. I wasn't nervous. He tilted his head as if he didn't believe me. "You were," I noticed. I didn't know what to say. My mouth was dry. My whole body was tense, and he continued. "I also noticed something else. Silence. I noticed that you're alone, even though you live with someone." That hit me like a punch in the stomach, because it was true, and he had seen it. In less than an hour inside my house, that young man had seen what Robert hadn't seen in 42 years. I felt my eyes burn. I turned my face away. "You don't know anything about me." "I do," he said softly. "I know because I saw it. Saw it in the way you move, in the way you look away, in the way you tremble when someone gets close. You're fading away, Mrs. Helen, and I don't think you should be." I took a deep breath, trying to hold back the tears. "Why did you come back?" I asked, my voice breaking. He was quiet for a second. Then he said, "Because yesterday, when I was leaving, your husband came home." My blood froze. "What?" He pulled up in his car, stopped right in front of the building. I was going down the stairs. He saw me coming out of the elevator with my tool bag and asked who I was. I explained, said I'd come to fix the shower. Daniel crossed his arms, and for the first time I saw anger in his face. "You know what he said?" I shook my head, speechless. He said, "Oh right, finally she did something useful. That woman's good for nothing except spending my money." And he laughed. He laughed, Mrs. Helen, like it was a joke. I felt my chest tighten. Tears fell. Not because it was news, but because someone had heard it. Someone had witnessed it. And that made it all more real, more painful. Daniel took another step. I got angry. I got angry at a man who has a woman like you at home and treats her that way. And I kept thinking all night, does she know how much she's worth? My voice came out hoarse, almost inaudible. "Why are you telling me this?" He held my gaze, firm, intense. "Because I came back here to tell you something, Mrs. Helen." Heavy silence. "You're still a woman. You're still beautiful. And if he doesn't see that, the problem isn't you. It's him." I sobbed, couldn't hold it back, covered my face with my hands, and Daniel just stood there, respecting my tears. Didn't touch me, didn't try to console me, just stayed. When I calmed down, I wiped my face with the back of my hand and looked at him. "You shouldn't have come back." He smiled, sad, sincere. "I know, but I came back anyway." And he left. But this time, I knew it wasn't the end, because something had started, and I couldn't pretend I didn't feel it anymore. I spent the rest of that entire day in a trance, sitting on the couch, staring at the wall, seeing nothing. My body trembling inside, my heart beating in an off rhythm, my mind spinning, spinning, spinning around those words. "You're still a woman. You're still beautiful." Nobody had said that to me in so long that I'd forgotten what it was like to hear it, what it was like to believe it, what it was like to feel that someone really saw me. Robert got home at 7 at night, as usual. Came in without greeting me, tossed his briefcase on the couch, went straight to the bathroom. Came back, sat in the armchair, turned on the television. Didn't even look at me. I stayed there, on the other side of the living room, watching him, trying to understand how I'd spent 42 years next to a man who never, never had looked at me the way Daniel looked at me in less than 2 days. Robert was handsome when I married him. Serious, but handsome. And I thought that was enough. I thought a man who worked, who paid the bills, who didn't drink, who didn't disappear from home, was everything a woman needed. I didn't know there was something else. I didn't know that desire existed, that fire existed, that this crazy thing of feeling your whole body wake up just because someone looked at you in a different way existed. I didn't know. And now that I knew, I couldn't unsee it. That night, Robert approached me. Robert. He did that sometimes, without warning, without romance. He'd just decide it was time and come. He touched my shoulder while I was in the kitchen putting away the dishes. "Let's go to the bedroom." It wasn't an invitation. It was an order. I put down the dish towel, turned off the light, and followed him. As always, like I'd done for decades, without questioning, without complaining, without feeling anything except obligation. I lay on the bed. He came on top of me. No kiss, no looking into my eyes, no asking if I wanted to, no asking if I was feeling anything. He just did it. Mechanical, quick, empty. And for the first time in my life, I felt disgusted, not with him, with myself. Because while he moved, I closed my eyes and thought of Daniel. I thought of his hands, of his smell, of the way he'd looked at me, of the way he'd talked to me, as if I mattered, as if I was more than a piece of furniture in the house. And the worst part, my body responded. My body responded thinking of another man. And when Robert finished, rolled to the side and fell asleep in 2 minutes, As always, I lay there, staring at the ceiling, feeling a guilt so heavy I could barely breathe. My God, what am I doing? I was married. I was 67 years old. I was a respectable woman, church-going, family-oriented, and there I was, feeling things for a young man the age of my son. I turned to the side, pulled the sheet up to my chin, and cried silently. Cried from shame, cried from guilt, cried from anger. Anger at Robert, who never really touched me. Anger at myself for having accepted this for so long. And anger at the universe for putting Daniel in front of me now, when it was too late. But deep down, way deep down, I knew it wasn't just guilt. It was something else too. It was fear. Fear of discovering I was still alive. Fear of discovering my body still worked. Fear of discovering I could still feel desire, fire, wanting. And that maybe, just maybe, there was still time. And that fear was more terrifying than anything. Because if I was still alive, what was I doing there? Lying next to a man who treated me like an object? Pretending everything was okay? Pretending I didn't deserve anything more? The next morning, Robert left early. I stayed alone. Sat on the balcony with a cup of coffee, looking at the empty street. And that's when my phone vibrated. It was a message from an unknown number. My heart raced before I even opened it. I knew who it was. I opened it. Good morning, Mrs. Helen. Sorry to text you. I got your number from the paper stuck on the fridge yesterday. I know I shouldn't have, but I needed to know, are you okay? I read it. Read it again. Read it a third time. My hands were shaking. I shouldn't respond. I knew that. But my fingers were already typing. I'm okay. 3 dots appeared on the screen. He was typing. Can I ask you something else? I took a deep breath. Go ahead. The 3 dots blinked longer this time, as if he was choosing his words carefully. Then the message came. Did you think about me last night? I dropped the phone. It fell onto my lap. My heart was beating so hard I could hear the sound of it in my ears, because the answer was yes, and he knew it. I picked up the phone again, stared at the screen, at that impossible question, at that truth I couldn't admit. But my hands, my treacherous hands, typed on their own, yes, and I hit send before I could regret it. His response came in seconds. I thought about you too. And then, the whole time, I closed my eyes, and I knew in that exact moment that I was entering into something dangerous, something forbidden, something that could destroy me. But for the first time in 42 years, I felt alive. I spent the next 3 days exchanging messages with Daniel. Short messages, simple ones, nothing too much. But each one of them lit me up inside in a way I didn't know still existed. Good morning, Mrs. Helen. Did you have breakfast yet? How was your day? It's raining there? We're getting a storm here. Simple things, everyday things, but written by someone who actually wanted to know, someone who saw me, someone who asked because they cared. Robert hadn't asked these things in years. Robert didn't ask anything, and I realized, with a tightness in my chest, that I was starting to wait for Daniel's messages more than I waited for my own husband to come home. On Thursday, he sent, Mrs. Helen, can I ask you something? I was in the kitchen, peeling potatoes for lunch. I stopped everything, dried my hands on my apron, opened the message with my heart racing. Sure. I want to see you again. My stomach turned. I stared at those words on the screen, reading them, rereading them, trying to decide if this was real or if I was losing my mind. Daniel, you know I'm married. I know, but that doesn't change what I feel when I think about you. My breath failed. What do you feel? 3 dots. He was typing, deleted it, typed again, deleted it, and finally sent, that I want to be near you. That's all. Just near. I closed my eyes, leaned both hands on the sink, took 3 deep breaths, and then, before reason could stop me, I typed, Robert's traveling tomorrow. He'll be gone until Sunday. I hit send and waited. The response came fast. Can I come over? I should have said no. I should have blocked the number. I should have deleted everything and pretended this had never happened. But I didn't do any of that. I typed, yes. Robert left Friday morning at 6:30. Small suitcase, suit on a hanger, briefcase under his arm. Business meeting in Orlando. Coming back Sunday night. He didn't even say goodbye, just said, have my lunch ready for Sunday, and left. I stood there in the hallway, listening to the sound of the door closing. The silence that came after was so heavy it almost suffocated me. For a second, I thought about calling Daniel, saying I'd changed my mind, that it was crazy, that I couldn't do this. But then my phone vibrated. Can I come now? My heart raced. Yes. He arrived half an hour later. I'd changed clothes 3 times, fixed my hair, put cream on my hands, sprayed perfume on my neck, and hated myself for each one of those things. You're getting dressed up for him like you're a teenager, I thought, looking in the mirror. You should be ashamed. But when the doorbell rang, all the shame disappeared. I opened the door, and there he was, Daniel, in jean shorts, white t-shirt, cap in his hand, hair slightly messy, eyes fixed on me, and that smile that melted everything. Hi, he said softly. Hi. We stood there, one looking at the other, for too long, until he asked, can I come in? I stepped to the side. He came in, and this time, I knew exactly what I was doing. Daniel didn't go to the bathroom, didn't grab any tools, didn't pretend he was there for work. He went straight to the living room, sat on the couch, looked at me, waiting. I stood there, arms crossed, trying to look controlled, but my whole body was trembling. You want some coffee? I asked, because I didn't know what else to say. He shook his head. No, I just want to talk to you. I sat on the other end of the couch, far away, safe. But he didn't seem to mind. Mrs. Helen? Helen, I corrected suddenly. Just Helen. He smiled. Helen, I need to tell you something. My stomach tightened. Go ahead. He took a deep breath, gathered his courage, and said, since I left here on Tuesday, I haven't been able to stop thinking about you. My heart beat harder. Daniel, let me finish. He leaned forward, elbows on his knees, hands clasped together. I know it's wrong. I know you're married. I know I shouldn't be here. But I couldn't stay away. Because every time I close my eyes, I see you. I see the way you look at the floor when you're nervous. I see the way you wring your hands. I see the sadness in your eyes. And I want to take it away. The tears came without asking permission. You can't take it away, I said, my voice breaking. Nobody can. I can try. He moved closer. Slowly, respectfully, but determined. He sat closer to me. So close I could feel the warmth of his body. Helen, when was the last time someone really touched you? I sobbed. It's been so long. I don't even remember anymore. He raised his hand, slowly, gave me time to pull away, but I didn't pull away. He touched the tip of his fingers to my face, soft, warm, real, and I fell apart. I cried so much my whole body shook, and Daniel pulled me close, hugged me, held my head against his chest and let me cry. Without rushing, without judgment, without wanting anything except to comfort me. And it was there, in his arms, that I made the most dangerous decision of my life. I wasn't going to send him away. Not this time. I stayed there, in his lap, for too long, crying, trembling, feeling his chest rise and fall with his breathing, feeling his hand stroking my hair slowly, like someone calming a scared child. And for the first time in decades, I felt safe, not protected. Safe is different. Safe to be seen, to be heard, to be woman. When I finally calmed down, I lifted my head, wiped my face with the back of my hand, looked at him, and he was looking at me in a way that made my whole body heat up. It wasn't pity, it was desire, real desire, raw, impossible to hide. "I'm sorry," I said, my voice still hoarse. "I didn't mean to fall apart like that. Don't apologize." He ran his thumb under my eye, wiping away a tear that had lingered. "You have a right to cry. You have a right to feel." I laughed, a bitter laugh, full of irony. It's been so long since anyone gave me that right. I didn't even know it still existed. Daniel held my face with both hands, firm, warm, his eyes fixed on mine. "Helen, I didn't come here just to comfort you." My heart stopped. "I came here because I want you." The air left my lungs. "Daniel, you don't know what you're saying." "I do." He came closer, so close I could feel his breath on my face. "I want you, the way a man wants a woman, the way you deserve to be wanted." I shook my head, trying to pull away, but he held my face more firmly. "Helen, stop running." "I'm old, Daniel." "So what?" "I'm 67 years old." "So what?" "My body's not what it used to be. I'm not beautiful anymore. I'm not—" He kissed me, out of nowhere, without warning, without asking permission. He just kissed me. And the whole world stopped. I didn't remember anymore what it was like to be kissed for real, with desire, with hunger, with want. Robert never kissed me like that, not even when we were young. He was always technical, always cold. Quick kiss, closed mouth, no taste, no fire. But Daniel kissed me like I was the only woman in the world, slow at first, testing, feeling. And when I didn't resist, when I opened my mouth and let him in, the kiss changed. It became intense, deep, desperate. He held my face with one hand and the other went down to my waist, pulling me closer. I moaned, couldn't hold it back. And that sound, that moan I didn't even know I was still capable of making, made him hold tighter. I was sitting on the couch, he was leaning over me, and suddenly, he pulled me onto his lap. I sat on Daniel's lap, legs open, one on each side of his body, and he held me by the waist with both large hands, firm, warm. "My God," I whispered, my voice gone. "Daniel, we can't—" "Why?" He bit my lower lip, soft, teasing. "Why can't we, Helen?" Because I'm married." He stopped, pulled his face back a few inches, looked deep into my eyes. "You're married to a man who doesn't touch you, who doesn't see you, who doesn't want you." He ran his hand down my thigh, slowly, moving up. "But I see you. I want you. And I know you want me too." I was shaking so much I thought I was going to fall apart right there. "I can't do this." "You can." He kissed my neck, went down to my collarbone, up to my ear. "You can do whatever you want, because you're free. You just don't know it yet." I closed my eyes, threw my head back, felt his mouth on my skin, and for the first time in 42 years, I allowed myself to feel desire, to feel want, to feel fire. My hands went up on their own, grabbed his shoulders, his back, his hair, and I pulled him closer, as if I wanted to merge our bodies into one. Daniel moaned, a low sound, hoarse, animal. And that set me on fire. I didn't know I was still capable of provoking that in someone. I didn't know I was still capable of being desired that way. But then, the phone rang. The shrill, sharp ring cutting through the air like a knife. I stopped, froze, opened my eyes, gasping. Daniel stopped too, but didn't let me go. "Let it ring," he said, his voice hoarse. I shook my head. "It might be important. Helen, I need to answer it." He let me go, slowly, with resistance. I got up from his lap, legs wobbly, my whole body trembling. Went to the landline phone on the corner table. I answered. "Hello? Helen." My blood froze. It was Robert. "Hi," I said, trying to control my voice, trying not to sound out of breath, trying not to sound guilty. "You okay? Your voice sounds weird." "I'm fine. I was just cleaning the house." "Oh." He didn't even seem interested. "I'm just calling to let you know the meeting got postponed. I'm coming back tonight." My stomach dropped. "Tonight?" "Yeah. I'll be there around 9. Have dinner ready." And he hung up. No goodbye. No kiss. Nothing. I stood there, with the phone in my hand, staring at nothing. Daniel got up from the couch. Came to me. What happened? I turned to him and felt the tears coming back. "He's coming back tonight." Daniel clenched his jaw. "Tonight? Tonight?" Heavy silence. Daniel ran his hand over his face, took a deep breath, looked at me, and then said, "Then we have all day." I blinked. "What?" He took a step forward, held my hand. "We have all day, Helen. You and me, here. Alone." He squeezed my hand. "And I'm not going to waste a single second of it." I should have sent him away. I should have said it was crazy. I should have remembered I was married, that I had a life, that I couldn't throw everything away for one afternoon of desire. But I didn't do any of that, because for the first time in 67 years, I decided to choose myself. I held his hand back and said, "Stay." We didn't go to the bedroom, not immediately. Before that, Daniel did something no one had ever done for me. He asked me what I wanted. We were sitting on the couch again, him facing me, holding my hands, looking deep into my eyes. "Helen, before anything else, I need to know, what do you want?" I was speechless. I don't know." "Yes, you do." He caressed my hand with his thumb. "You're just afraid to say it." I took a deep breath, gathered my courage, and finally admitted, "I want to feel alive again." He smiled, a slow smile, warm, dangerous. "Then I'm going to make you feel alive." And that's exactly what he did. Daniel didn't rush. He didn't throw me on the bed, didn't rip off my clothes, didn't do anything desperate. He went slow, intentional, attentive. He kissed me again, but this time it was different. It was slower, deeper, as if he wanted to memorize the taste of me. He took off my blouse, button by button, looking into my eyes the whole time, asking permission with each movement. And when I was there, in my bra, vulnerable, exposed, he didn't look away. He looked at me as if I were the most beautiful thing he'd ever seen. "You're perfect," he said. And I believed him. For the first time in my life, I believed him. We spent the entire afternoon together, in the living room, on the couch, on the floor, in each other's arms. And when the sun finally started to go down, I knew nothing would ever be the same again, because I had tasted freedom, and there was no going back. It was almost 7 at night when Daniel and I finally got up from the couch. My whole body felt different, light, warm, alive, as if every cell had woken from a deep sleep. I looked at him, messy hair, wrinkled t-shirt, that tired smile on his face, and felt a pang in my chest, because I knew he was leaving. And I knew that maybe this would never happen again. Daniel stood up, stretched his arms, looked at me. "I need to go." I nodded, trying not to show the tightness I felt in my throat. "I know." He came to me, held my face with both hands, kissed my forehead, slowly, tenderly. "Helen, this wasn't just one afternoon for me." I closed my eyes. "It wasn't for me either. I want to see you again." I opened my eyes, looked at him, and for the first time, I felt real fear, because this wasn't just desire anymore. It was something else, something bigger, more dangerous, more real. "Daniel, I don't know if that's a good idea." "Why?" He tilted his head, searching my eyes. "Because you're married?" "Yes." He let go of my face, took a step back. And what he said next changed everything. Helen, I need to tell you something. My heart raced. What? He crossed his arms, looked at the floor, took a deep breath. And when he looked up again, there was something heavy in his gaze. I didn't come here by accident. I frowned. What do you mean? That day, the day I came to fix the shower. He paused. It wasn't the first time I'd seen you. My stomach turned. What? Daniel came closer again, slowly, like someone afraid of scaring me. I'd seen you before, Helen, 3 times. I shook my head, confused. Where? At the bakery on the corner. You went there every Tuesday morning, always at the same time, always alone, always with that expression, sad, distant, like you were there, but you weren't. He swallowed hard. I work near here. I pass by that bakery every day, and every time I saw you, I kept thinking, who is this woman? Why does she look so faded? I felt a chill run up my spine. You followed me? No. He shook his head firmly. I never followed you, but I asked about you. My blood froze. Who did you ask? Mrs. Patricia, the owner of the bakery. I knew Mrs. Patricia, gossipy woman, talkative, who knew about everyone's life in the neighborhood. What did she tell you? Daniel looked away. She said you were married, said your husband was a difficult man. Said you lived alone, even though you lived with him. Said nobody ever saw you smile. Tears started falling without me being able to stop them. And why did you want to know? He looked at me again, and the intensity in his gaze knocked me down. Because I couldn't stop thinking about you, Helen. I took a deep breath, trying to process this. So, that day with the shower, I asked your neighbor to recommend me. He admitted, without looking away. I knew you'd called a technician before. I knew the guy had left the job half done. And I offered to finish it, for free. My world spun. You set this up? I created an opportunity. He took a step forward. Because I needed to meet you, needed to know if what I felt when I saw you at the bakery was real. I put my hand to my mouth, shocked, confused, torn between anger and something I couldn't name. Daniel, this is wrong, he completed. I know it seems crazy. I know it seems like an obsession. But Helen, I swear to you. He knelt in front of me, held my hands. I swear that when I came in here that day and saw you up close and heard your voice and felt your presence, I knew what? My voice came out shaky, that I wasn't going to be able to stay away from you. Heavy silence. I looked at him, at that man kneeling in front of me, that man who had given me the most intense afternoon of my life, that man who had made me feel alive again, and I didn't know if I should feel angry or grateful. You should have told me this before. I know. He squeezed my hands, but I was afraid you'd send me away, afraid you'd think I was crazy, afraid of losing the chance to really meet you. I pulled one of my hands away from his, brought it to my forehead, took a deep breath. Daniel, I don't know what to do with this. Don't do anything. He stood up, held my face again. Just don't hate me, please. I looked into his eyes and saw truth, saw fear, saw regret, but I also saw love, real love, and that scared me more than anything. I need you to leave, I said, my voice failing. He nodded, slowly, heavily. Okay. He grabbed his backpack, went to the door, turned to me one last time. Helen, I don't regret it. Nothing. And if you want to see me again, I'll be waiting. And he left. The door closed, and I collapsed on the floor. I cried like I hadn't cried in years. Sitting there in the middle of the living room, hugging my own knees, rocking back and forth. Because everything had changed. Daniel wasn't just a young man who had appeared in my life by accident. He had chosen me. He had seen me, had looked for me, had created a way to enter my life. And now I didn't know what was real anymore. Did he really want me? Or was I just a project? A sad woman he wanted to save? Was this love? Or was it pity? I didn't know, and that destroyed me. At 9 at night, Robert arrived, came through the door, dropped his suitcase on the floor, took off his jacket, hung it on the rack. "Where's dinner?" I got up from the kitchen chair. I'd washed my face 3 times, fixed my hair, put on different clothes. But inside, I was shattered. "It's ready. I'll heat it up." I put his plate on the table. He sat down, ate, without looking at me, without asking how I was, without noticing that something huge had changed. I sat on the other side of the table, looking at him, and it was in that moment that I realized Robert was never going to see me, because he never had seen me, not at the beginning, not in the middle, not now. I was invisible to him, and I always had been, but to Daniel, I wasn't. To Daniel, I was a woman. I was desire. I was important. And for the first time, I understood the difference. That night, lying next to Robert, who was sleeping heavily, snoring loudly, I grabbed my phone, opened the messages, and typed, "Daniel, I don't hate you." I waited. 3 minutes later, the response came. "Are you okay?" "No." "What can I do?" I took a deep breath, and before I could regret it, I typed, "I want to see you again." The response came instantly. "When?" And I realized I had just crossed a line with no going back, because this wasn't just one afternoon anymore. It wasn't just desire anymore. It was a choice, and I was choosing him. Even knowing it could destroy me, even knowing it could end me, I was choosing to feel. I was choosing to live. I was choosing to be free. For the first time in 67 years, the following days were torture. Robert was home, physically present, absent in everything else. He'd wake up, have breakfast, go to work, come back, have dinner, watch television, and sleep. The same routine as always. Like a broken clock that still marks the hours, but doesn't feel time passing. And I was on fire. Inside, outside, in every thought, in every breath. I exchanged messages with Daniel in secret. In the bathroom, in the kitchen, on the balcony. Always with my heart racing, always afraid of being discovered. "Good morning, beautiful. I'm dying to see you. When are we going to see each other again?" And I responded, "Always," because I couldn't stay away anymore. "I miss you too. I don't know when. He won't leave the house. But I want to see you. I need to see you." And it was true. I needed to. As if he were air. As if I'd spent my whole life holding my breath. And now, finally, I could breathe deeply. But the guilt was eating me alive. Every time Robert touched me, that mechanical touch, empty, obligatory, I closed my eyes and saw Daniel. And I hated myself for it. Hated myself for cheating. Hated myself for feeling. Hated myself for not hating myself enough. Until one Thursday afternoon, everything changed. Robert came home early. 3 in the afternoon. I was in the kitchen, looking at my phone, smiling at a message from Daniel, when I heard the key turning in the lock. My heart stopped. I locked the phone screen, threw it in my apron pocket, took a deep breath. Robert came in, and for the first time in years, he really looked at me. "You're different," he said. I froze. "What do you mean?" He frowned, looked me up and down, like someone analyzing, like someone suspicious. "I don't know. You're more put together. Are you wearing perfume?" I ran my hand through my hair, nervous. "I always wear perfume. Not like this." He took a step forward. "And you look different in the face, too. You seem younger." My stomach turned. "Robert, What are you talking about? He didn't answer, just stood there, looking at me, and for the first time in 42 years, I felt afraid of him. Not physical fear, fear of being discovered, fear that he knew. Did you meet someone? He asked suddenly. My blood froze. What? You heard me. Robert, for God's sake, what kind of question is that? He crossed his arms. It's because you're different, Helen, and I'm not an idiot. I forced a laugh. Fake, shrill. You're going crazy. I didn't meet anyone. I barely leave the house. He looked at me for a few more seconds, heavy, silent. And then he uncrossed his arms and went to the bedroom. I stood there, in the middle of the kitchen, with wobbly legs and my heart racing. He knew. Or at least, he suspected. And if he found out? That night, I didn't sleep. I lay next to him, staring at the ceiling, listening to the heavy snoring, feeling the weight of guilt suffocating me. And it was there, at 3 a.m, that I made a decision. I needed to end things with Daniel, because this was going to end badly, because I was going to be discovered, because I couldn't live like this, divided, lying, hiding. So the next morning, as soon as Robert left for work, I sent Daniel a message. You need to come here now. He responded in seconds. I'm on my way. Daniel arrived 20 minutes later. He came through the door and came straight to me, with that smile that melted everything. But this time, I didn't smile back. What happened? He asked, noticing my expression. I took a deep breath, gathered my courage, and said, We need to stop this. His smile disappeared. What? This, Daniel. You and me, we need to stop. He shook his head, confused. Helen, what are you talking about? Robert's suspicious. He noticed I'm different. He asked me if I met someone. Daniel took a step forward. And you denied it? Of course I denied it. Then what's the problem? The problem is that he knows, Daniel. My voice came out louder than I wanted. He may not be sure yet, but he knows. And if he finds out, if he really finds out, what's he going to do? Daniel crossed his arms. Hit you, curse you, humiliate you. I looked away. He already does that. Daniel took another step. Then why are you afraid? Because I felt the tears coming. Because I don't know how to live alone, Daniel. I spent my whole life being a wife, being a homemaker, being invisible. I don't know who I am without that. You do know. He held my face. You're Helen. You're strong. You're beautiful. You're free. I shook my head, crying. I'm not free. I never was. Then be free now. It's not that simple. Yes, it is. He pulled me close. You just have to choose. I pushed him away, with anger, with desperation. Choose what, Daniel? Choose you? Choose to throw away 42 years of marriage? Choose to become what? The old lady who left her husband for a younger man? The family shame? No. He held my shoulders, firm. Choose yourself. Choose to be happy. Choose to really live before it's too late. I sobbed. I'm 67 years old, Daniel. It's already too late. It's not. He pressed his forehead to mine. It's never too late to be free. And then he kissed me. A desperate kiss, intense, full of everything we couldn't say. And I kissed him back. Because no matter how much I tried to deny it, no matter how much I tried to resist, I wanted him. I wanted him more than anything. We went to the bedroom. For the first time, to my bedroom. To the bed I'd shared with Robert for over 4 decades. And it was there, in that bed, in that space that had always been his, that I finally freed myself. Daniel touched me the way I'd never been touched. Carefully, with desire, with attention. He kissed every part of me, slowly, like someone discovering a hidden treasure. And when we finally merged, when we finally became one, I cried. I cried with relief. I cried with guilt. I cried with freedom, because for the first time in 67 years, I was making love, real love, not obligation, not duty, not routine. Love. Afterwards, lying side by side, sweaty, breathless, in silence, Daniel turned to me and said, "Leave him." I looked at him. "What?" "Leave Robert. Come with me." My heart stopped. "Daniel, you don't know what you're saying." "I do." He held my hand. "I know exactly what I'm saying. I want you, Helen, for real, forever, and I know you want me too. But there's no but." He sat up, propped his body on his elbow, looked deep into my eyes. "You're not happy with him. You never were. And you deserve more. You deserve to be loved. You deserve to be seen. You deserve to live." I closed my eyes. "It's more complicated than that. It's only complicated because you're letting it be." He kissed my hand. "Helen, I don't care about your age. I don't care what people are going to say. I don't care about any of that. I only care about you." I opened my eyes and saw truth, saw love, saw future. A future I'd never imagined. A future where I could be happy. "I need to think," I said. He nodded. "Okay, think. But Helen?" He held my face. "Don't take too long, because life goes by fast, and I don't want us to waste any more time." Daniel left an hour later, and I stayed there, lying in bed, staring at the ceiling, smelling his scent on the sheets. And for the first time, I imagined a different life, a life where I woke up next to him, a life where I really smiled, a life where I was free. And the more I imagined, the more I wanted it. I spent the next 3 days in a trance. Robert was home, talking, complaining, giving orders. But I didn't hear anything anymore. It was like he was on the other side of thick glass. I saw his mouth moving, but the sound didn't reach me, because my head was somewhere else. It was with Daniel. It was in that afternoon in my bedroom. It was in those words, "Leave him, come with me." And the more I thought about it, the more it made sense. But the fear was enormous. Fear of being alone, fear of being judged, fear of discovering that, in the end, I wasn't strong enough to start over. Until Sunday night, everything collapsed. Robert was watching television in the living room. I was in the kitchen, washing the dinner dishes, when I heard my phone vibrate on the table. I dried my hands on the towel, picked up the phone. It was Daniel. "Helen, I need to see you, tomorrow, please." I was about to respond when I heard Robert's voice behind me. "Who is it?" I almost dropped the phone. I turned, hiding the screen against my chest. "Nobody, just spam." He frowned. "Spam doesn't send messages at night." My heart raced. "Robert, stop it." He took a step forward. "Give me that phone." "What? You heard me. Give it to me." I backed away. "No." He moved forward, fast, ripped the phone from my hand before I could react. "Robert, give that back to me." But he'd already unlocked it, was already reading. I saw his face change, saw the anger rise, saw his jaw clench. And when he looked up at me, I knew it was over. "Who's Daniel?" he asked, his voice low, dangerous. I couldn't answer. "Who's Daniel?" he shouted this time. I took a step back. "Robert, calm down." "Calm down?" He threw the phone on the floor. The screen cracked. "You're cheating on me, and you want me to stay calm?" The tears came. But this time, they weren't from fear. They were from relief. Because finally, everything was exposed. "I didn't want you to find out like this," I said, my voice trembling. He laughed, a bitter laugh, full of venom. "Oh no? And how did you want me to find out? Did you want to tell me in person? Did you want to tell me you're screwing some kid in my bed?" I clenched my teeth. "Don't talk like that." "I'll talk however I want." He moved forward again. "You're my wife, Helen. Mine." "I'm not!" I shouted back. and it was the first time in 42 years I'd shouted at him. I was never yours. I was always nothing, nothing to you. He stopped, shocked. What are you talking about? You never saw me, Robert. The tears kept falling. You never really looked at me. You never touched me with affection. You never asked me if I was okay, if I was happy, if I wanted something. I spent 42 years being your maid, your obligation, your property. And I thought that was normal, that that's what marriage was. And it's not, he shouted. No! I took a step forward. It's not, Robert. Marriage is partnership. It's companionship. It's looking at each other and seeing love. And we never had that. We never had anything. He shook his head, incredulous. You've lost your mind. No. I woke up. I wiped my face with the back of my hand. I woke up after 67 years of sleeping. And now I can't go back to sleep. Robert was silent, breathing hard, looking at me like he was seeing a stranger. And maybe I was, because the woman he knew, the submissive woman, quiet, invisible, had died. And in her place, another had been born. A woman who knew what she wanted, a woman who wasn't afraid anymore. I'm leaving, I said. He blinked. What? I'm leaving. Tomorrow. You're not going anywhere. I am. I looked deep into his eyes. I am, and you can't stop me. He took a step forward, threatening. You think that kid's going to stay with you? You think he really wants you? You're 67 years old, Helen. You're old. You're ugly. You have nothing to offer. And it was there, in that moment, that I realized Robert wasn't angry because he loved me. He was angry because he'd lost control, because for the first time, I wasn't obeying. And that freed me completely. I smiled, a sad smile, but real. You're wrong, Robert. I have everything to offer. I have love, I have life, I have fire, and I have freedom. And I went upstairs to the bedroom. That night, I packed a suitcase. I took my clothes, my documents, my few savings hidden in a cookie tin at the back of the closet. Robert stayed in the living room, didn't come upstairs, didn't try to stop me. And when I finished, when I closed the suitcase and looked around that bedroom where I'd spent 42 years of my life, I didn't feel sadness. I felt peace. The next morning, at 6 a.m., I came downstairs with my suitcase. Robert was sitting in the armchair. He hadn't slept. He was wearing the same clothes from the night before. Red eyes, tired face. He looked at me. You're really going? It wasn't a question. It was a statement. I am. He lowered his head. I never imagined you were capable of this. I stopped at the door, turned to him one last time. Neither did I. And I left. Daniel was waiting for me on the corner. He'd sent me a message earlier saying he'd be there, that no matter what time, that he'd come get me. And there he was, leaning against the car, arms crossed, looking at me with that smile that had changed my life. When he saw me, he came running, grabbed my suitcase, threw it in the trunk, held my face with both hands. You came, I smiled. For the first time in days, I really smiled. I came. He kissed me, right there in the middle of the street, in front of whoever wanted to see, and I didn't care, because for the first time, I wasn't ashamed to be happy anymore. We went to his apartment, small, simple, nothing compared to the house I'd left behind, but it was his, it was ours, and it was free. Daniel put my suitcase on the floor, turned to me. Are you sure about this? I looked around, looked at him, and felt something I hadn't felt in decades. Hope. I'm sure, he smiled, and pulled me into a hug. And there, in his arms, I finally understood. Freedom wasn't about age. It wasn't about time. It wasn't about what people were going to say. Freedom was about choice. And I had chosen. I had chosen to live. I had chosen to feel. I had chosen myself. And for the first time in 67 years, I was at peace. In the following days, reality hit. Robert called several times, left messages, some angry, others almost crying. "Come home, Helen. We can talk. I'll change, I promise." But I didn't go back, because I knew he wasn't going to change, because I knew those words were just fear of being alone, not love. It was never love. My children, yes, I had 2 children I barely saw, called too. Shocked, furious, embarrassed. "Mom, what did you do? How could you do this to Dad? You're with a guy your son's age. How embarrassing." And it hurt. Of course it hurt, but not enough to make me go back, because for the first time, I was putting myself first, and if they didn't understand, that was their problem, not mine. Daniel held me through all of it. He hugged me when I cried. He made me laugh when I thought I'd lost everything. He reminded me every day that I'd made the right choice, and little by little, I started to believe it, started to live, for real. For the first time, 2 weeks after I left Robert, Daniel took me to the beach. Not a crowded beach, a small one, quiet, almost deserted. Just us, the sand, and the sound of the waves. We walked hand in hand along the water's edge. The sun was setting, painting the sky orange and pink, and I felt like I was in a dream. "You know what I love about you?" Daniel said, stopping and turning to me. I looked at him. "What?" "That you're brave." He held both my hands. "You're the bravest woman I've ever met." I laughed, a nervous laugh. "I'm not brave. I'm terrified." "Being brave doesn't mean you're not afraid." He pulled me closer. "It means you do it anyway." He kissed me, right there, with the waves washing over our feet, with the wind messing up our hair. And I felt complete. But that night, when we got back to the apartment, something changed. We were on the couch eating takeout Chinese food when Daniel suddenly got serious. "Helen, I need to ask you something." My heart skipped. "What?" He put down his food, turned to face me completely. "Do you regret it?" I frowned. "Regret what?" "Leaving him, choosing me, all of this." He looked into my eyes. "Do you regret it?" I put my food down too, held his face with both hands. "Daniel, I regret a lot of things in my life. I regret wasting 42 years with a man who never saw me. I regret accepting crumbs when I deserved a feast. I regret staying silent for so long." I felt tears coming. "But choosing you? Choosing myself? That's the one thing I'll never regret." He closed his eyes. A tear rolled down his face. "I was so afraid you'd leave." "I'm not going anywhere." He opened his eyes, and what I saw there made my heart stop. It was love, pure love, real, deep. "Helen, I love you." I felt my breath catch. Nobody had said that to me, and I couldn't even remember. "Daniel, I know it's fast. I know we've only known each other a few weeks. But I don't care." He held my hands tighter. "I love you. Everything about you. Your strength, your vulnerability, your courage, your fear. Everything." The tears fell without permission. "I love you too," I whispered. And when I said it, I knew it was true. I loved him. Not just because he'd saved me, not just because he'd made me feel alive, but because he saw me, really saw me. And that changed everything. That night, we made love differently. It wasn't desperate like before. It wasn't urgent. It was slow, tender, deep. Daniel took his time, kissed every inch of my skin, whispered things in my ear that made me cry. "You're beautiful. You're mine. I'm never letting you go." And I believed every word, because for the first time in my life, I felt worthy of being loved. The next morning I woke up before him. I lay there watching him sleep. His peaceful face, his messy hair, his chest rising and falling, and I thought, This is real. This is my life now. No more Robert, no more invisibility, no more accepting less than I deserved. Just this man, this love, this freedom. I got up carefully, not wanting to wake him, went to the kitchen, made coffee, and that's when I felt it. A wave of nausea that hit me out of nowhere. I grabbed the counter, breathed deeply, waited for it to pass. It did, eventually. But then I realized this wasn't the first time. I'd been feeling nauseous for the past few mornings, and tired, so tired. And my breasts, they were sore. And my period, my heart stopped. When was my last period? I tried to remember, tried to count back, but I couldn't, because it had been a while, a long while. No, I whispered to myself, that's impossible. I was 67 years old. I was way past menopause. I couldn't be. But what if I was? The thought terrified me, and excited me, and terrified me again. Daniel came into the kitchen a few minutes later, rubbing his eyes. "Good morning, beautiful." I turned to him, forcing a smile. "Good morning." He came over, kissed my forehead, poured himself coffee. "You okay? You look pale." "I'm fine. Just didn't sleep well." He looked at me for a second, concerned, but didn't push. "Okay, but if you need anything, tell me." I nodded. But inside, I was screaming, because I couldn't tell him. Not yet. Not until I knew for sure. That afternoon, when Daniel went to work, I went to the drugstore, bought 3 pregnancy tests. The pharmacist looked at me strangely. An old lady buying pregnancy tests. But I didn't care. I went home, locked myself in the bathroom, and took all 3 tests and waited, the longest 3 minutes of my life. When I finally looked, all 3 showed the same thing. 2 lines, positive, I was pregnant, at 67 years old, with Daniel's baby. I sat on the bathroom floor, and I didn't know whether to laugh or cry, so I did both. Because this was impossible, miraculous, terrifying, and I had no idea what to do. I made an appointment at the community health clinic for next week. They said they needed to do an ultrasound to confirm that home tests could give false positives in women my age. But I knew. Deep down, I knew. My body knew, because I'd felt this before. Over 40 years ago, when I had my children. And now, at 67, I was feeling it again. I haven't told Daniel yet. I don't know how. How do I tell a 35-year-old man that there might be a baby? He'll think it's crazy. He'll think it's impossible. I don't know what he'll do. And that's what terrifies me. Sometimes I put my hand on my belly. There's nothing to feel yet. But I put it there anyway. And I think, is this real? Is my body still capable of this? Is this a miracle or a curse? Because having a child at 67 is insane. People are going to talk. They're going to judge. They're going to say I'm crazy, that I'm too old, that I won't make it, that I'll die before seeing this child grow up. And maybe they're right. But at the same time, this is proof that I'm still alive, that my body still works, that I'm still fertile, a woman, complete. In 3 days, I'm getting the ultrasound. In 3 days, I'll know if this is real. And if it really is, I'm going to have to make the hardest decision of my life. The 3 days until my appointment felt like 3 years. I moved through the apartment like a ghost, making breakfast, cleaning, pretending everything was normal. But nothing was normal, because inside me, there might be a life, a new life. At 67 years old, Daniel noticed something was wrong. Of course he did. "Helen, are you sure you're okay?" he asked one night as we lay in bed. I was curled up on my side, staring at the wall. "I'm fine." "You're not." He moved closer, wrapped his arm around me. You've been distant, quiet. What's going on? I wanted to tell him. God, I wanted to tell him so badly, but fear held my tongue. I'm just adjusting to everything. It's a lot of change. He kissed my shoulder. I know, but we're going to be okay. I promise. I closed my eyes and prayed he was right. The day of the appointment came. I told Daniel I was going to the clinic for a routine checkup. Old lady stuff, nothing important. He offered to come with me. No, I said too quickly. It's boring. Just blood work and things like that. I'll be fine. He looked at me for a long moment, like he knew I was hiding something. But he didn't push. Okay, call me if you need me. I nodded and left. The community health clinic was busy, full of young mothers with crying babies, pregnant women with swollen bellies, teenage girls holding hands with nervous boyfriends, and then me, a 67-year-old woman who might be joining them. The irony wasn't lost on me. Helen Morrison? A nurse called. I stood up, followed her down the hallway. She took my vitals, asked questions, wrote things down on a clipboard, and then she said, "The doctor will see you in a few minutes. Just wait here." She left, and I sat there on the examination table, paper crinkling beneath me, heart pounding in my chest. Dr. Martinez came in 10 minutes later. Young woman, maybe 40. Kind eyes, professional smile. "Mrs. Morrison, I understand you're here because you think you might be pregnant?" I nodded. She looked at my chart. Her eyebrows went up. "You're 67? "Yes." She set down the chart, sat on her stool, rolled closer to me. "Mrs. Morrison, I'm not going to lie to you. Pregnancy at your age is extremely rare, almost unheard of, but—" She paused. "Not impossible. There have been documented cases." My hands trembled in my lap. The home tests were positive. "Home tests can be unreliable in women your age, but we'll do an ultrasound today. That will tell us definitively." She stood up. "Let's get you ready." I lay on the table, my shirt pulled up, cold gel on my belly. Dr. Martinez moved the ultrasound wand across my skin. I watched the screen, black and white static, shapes I couldn't understand. She was quiet, concentrating. And then she stopped. "There," she said softly, pointing to a tiny flutter on the screen. "That's a heartbeat." The world stopped spinning. "What?" "You're pregnant, Mrs. Morrison. About 8 weeks, I'd say." I couldn't breathe, couldn't think, couldn't process what she'd just said. That's impossible. It's highly unusual, but it's happening." She turned to look at me. "I need to be honest with you. A pregnancy at your age is extremely high risk, for you and for the baby. We're talking about possible complications like preeclampsia, gestational diabetes, premature birth, and—" "I know the risks," I interrupted. She nodded. "I'm going to refer you to a high-risk OB. You'll need constant monitoring. And ultimately—" She paused. "The choice of whether to continue this pregnancy is yours. But you need to think very carefully about what this means." I looked back at the screen, at that tiny flutter, that impossible heartbeat, and felt tears streaming down my face. I left the clinic in a daze, walked to my car, sat behind the wheel, stared at nothing. I was pregnant, really pregnant, with Daniel's baby, at 67 years old. It was the most terrifying thing I'd ever faced, and also the most miraculous. I drove around for 2 hours, just driving, no destination, trying to think, trying to decide. What was I going to do? Keep it? At 67? With all the risks? Or not? Both options felt impossible. Both options felt like they would destroy me. When I finally got home, Daniel was there, sitting on the couch, looking worried. "Helen, thank God. Where were you? You've been gone for hours. I tried calling." "I turned my phone off," I said quietly. He stood up, came to me. "What happened? What did the doctor say?" I looked at him, at this man who loved me. This man who'd given me a second chance at life. This man who deserved to know the truth. Daniel. Sit down. His face went pale. You're scaring me. Just sit, please. He sat. I sat next to him, and I took his hands in mine. Daniel, I need to tell you something, and I need you to listen to the whole thing before you say anything, okay? He nodded, his eyes wide with fear. I took a deep breath. For the past few weeks, I've been feeling strange, nauseous, tired, and I thought it was just stress from everything that's happened. But then I realized my period hadn't come, and I know I'm old, and I'm past menopause, but Helen, what are you saying? I looked into his eyes. I'm pregnant. Silence. Complete, absolute silence. Daniel stared at me, mouth slightly open, face frozen. You're... what? I'm pregnant. 8 weeks. I had an ultrasound today. They confirmed it. There's a heartbeat. He stood up, ran his hands through his hair, paced across the room. That's not possible. I know, but it is. It's happening. He turned to me. How? You're 67. I don't know how. The doctor said it's rare but not impossible. Daniel, Is it mine? He asked suddenly. I felt like he'd slapped me. Of course it's yours. Who else's would it be? He sat back down, put his head in his hands. I'm sorry. That was stupid. I can't process this. I know. Neither can I. We sat in silence for a long moment. Then he looked up at me. What do you want to do? And that was the question, wasn't it? What did I want? I don't know, I whispered. I'm terrified. The risks are enormous. I could die. The baby could die. I'm too old for this. Everyone's going to think I'm insane. But, I looked at him, this is proof that I'm still alive, that my body still works, that I'm still capable of creating life. And maybe, my voice broke, maybe this is my second chance at everything. Daniel moved closer, took my hands. Helen, if you want to do this, I'm with you. Every step. I'm not going anywhere. You don't have to. I want to. He cupped my face. I love you. And if we're going to have a baby, then we're going to have a baby. Together. I started crying. You really mean that? I really mean that. And in that moment, I made my decision. I was going to do this. I was going to have this baby. No matter what anyone said, no matter how scared I was, because for the first time in my life, I was choosing me, and this new life inside me. But here's the thing they don't tell you about miracles. Sometimes they don't last. 3 days after I told Daniel, I woke up in the middle of the night with cramps, sharp, twisting, low in my belly. I lay there in the dark, trying to breathe through it. It's nothing, I told myself, just normal pregnancy stuff. But when I went to the bathroom, there was blood. Daniel drove me to the emergency room at 2 a.m. I sat in the passenger seat, bent over, one hand on my stomach, tears streaming down my face. It's going to be okay, he kept saying. It's going to be okay. But we both knew he was lying. The ER doctor did another ultrasound. She moved the wand across my belly, her face carefully neutral, and then she turned off the screen. I'm so sorry, Mrs. Morrison. There's no heartbeat. The world ended. Right there, in that sterile room with its fluorescent lights and antiseptic smell. My baby was gone. My miracle was over. They called it a miscarriage, said it was common in women my age, said my body just couldn't sustain a pregnancy, said it wasn't my fault. But it felt like my fault. It felt like my body had betrayed me one last time, had given me hope, had shown me what was possible, and then ripped it away. I didn't leave the apartment for 2 weeks. I lay in bed, staring at the wall, feeling empty, hollow, like someone had carved out my insides and left nothing but a shell. Daniel tried everything. He brought me food I didn't eat. He held me while I cried. He told me it wasn't my fault, but nothing helped. Because I'd lost something I didn't even know I wanted, until it was gone. My children didn't call. Robert didn't call. The only person who called was Dr. Martinez. Mrs. Morrison, I know this is incredibly difficult, but I want you to know, what your body did was remarkable. Most women your age couldn't conceive at all. Your body created life. That's extraordinary. But it couldn't keep it, I said, my voice dead. No, but that doesn't diminish the miracle of it happening in the first place. I hung up, because I didn't want to hear about miracles anymore. On the third week, Daniel sat on the edge of the bed and said, "Helen, you need to get up." I didn't respond. I know you're hurting. I'm hurting too. But you can't stay in this bed forever. Why not? Because that's not who you are. He took my hand. You're the woman who left her husband, who chose freedom, who chose life. And I need you to choose it again. Please. I looked at him, really looked at him, and saw the pain in his eyes, because he'd lost the baby too. And I'd been so consumed by my own grief that I hadn't even thought about his. "I'm sorry," I whispered. "Don't be sorry. Just come back to me." I sat up, for the first time in 3 weeks, and let him hold me. It took time, weeks, months, but slowly, I came back to life. Daniel was patient, so patient. He never pushed, never demanded. He just loved me. Even when I was broken, even when I was empty, even when I didn't know how to love myself. 6 months after the miscarriage, we went back to that beach, the same one where he'd told me he loved me. We walked along the water's edge, hand in hand, watching the sunset. "Do you regret it?" I asked suddenly. He looked at me. "Regret what?" "All of this. Me, the chaos, the loss." He stopped walking, turned to face me. "Helen, you gave me something nobody else ever has." "What?" "A reason to believe in real love." He held both my hands. "Before you, I thought love was just chemistry, attraction, something that fades. But you showed me it's more than that. It's choice. It's commitment. It's showing up even when it's hard." I felt tears coming. Even after everything? Especially after everything. He kissed me, and I finally believed him. Today, I'm 68 years old. I live in a small apartment with a man who loves me. I don't talk to my children. Maybe someday. Maybe not. Robert signed the divorce papers 6 months ago. I got my half of everything. It wasn't much, but it was enough. I think about the baby sometimes, the one that almost was, the miracle that slipped through my fingers, and it still hurts. But I've learned something. Life doesn't always give you what you want, but sometimes it gives you what you need. I needed to know I was still alive. I needed to know my body still worked. I needed to know I was capable of more than I thought. And for 8 weeks, I had that. But here's the twist. Last week, I went back to Dr. Martinez because the nausea came back, and the fatigue, and the tenderness, and I thought, no, it can't be. Not again. But Dr. Martinez did the blood work and the ultrasound, and she looked at me with tears in her eyes and said, "Mrs. Morrison, you're pregnant again." I'm not kidding. At 68 years old, 6 months after losing the first baby. My body somehow tried again. And this time, the heartbeat is strong. The pregnancy is progressing. Against all odds, against all medical logic, I'm still pregnant. I have an appointment next week to confirm everything is still okay, to make sure this isn't another cruel trick, to see if this miracle is going to stick. And I haven't told Daniel yet, because I'm terrified. Terrified of losing another baby. Terrified of getting his hopes up. Terrified of admitting that this impossible thing is happening again. So I'm asking you, woman to woman, should I tell him? Should I let myself hope? Should I believe in this miracle or protect my heart? Because right now, I'm standing at a crossroads and I don't know which way to go. If you want, I'll come back and tell you what happened. Tell you if it's real. Tell you if I told him. Tell you if this impossible baby survives. Because this story isn't over yet. Leave in the comments. In my place, what would you do? Would you tell him? Would you hope? Would you believe? And tell me, have you ever gotten a second chance you didn't think was possible? Because life still knows how to surprise us, even when we think we've seen it all, even at 68, even now.